Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips, get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
BooBaes.
BooBaes.
Bum ba-dum bum, bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum bum, bum ba-dum bum bum. It's our 100th episode. Dum ba-dum.
Dum da da dum da 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 da. Boo! If only we could have like real fireworks going off in the background. Oh, great sound effects.
If we throw these gummy worms in the air, they'll look like fireworks.
Mhm.
But let's not do that because they're my favorite candy.
because I want to eat them.
Yeah, they're good.
And on that note,
The blue
you
and red
guys,
ones are my least favorite. So
those are my biggest favorites.
they're everyone's biggest favorite. The green and orange is my favorite, which is everyone's least favorite. So it makes it really easy to
We're
share
very
gummy
compatible.
worms. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy. I didn't. Yeah,
and then the yellow and red are middle of the road for me.
same for me.
Yeah.
But just reversed on the other side. Why? What is it about the green and orange that you like?
Citrusy. I like citrus.
You do. I'm the opposite. I like the more like sweet,
Yeah, the red's a little too sweet.
like berry type of flavor.
Yeah. So
You know what? This all makes me
It's
think
tart.
of Gushers, and I want some Gushers now.
ooh, I haven't had Gushers or even thought of Gushers in so
They're
long.
good.
They are so good.
Gushers and like a fruit roll up.
Oh yeah.
I want one of those.
You remember the fruit roll-ups that had tattoos?
Yes, I do.
That was fun.
Or
That's
like
where my addiction started. It was a gateway drug.
The zebra gum. It is the zebra gum
Yeah,
that had
I
tattoos
loved
that came in
zebra
those.
gum.
Ouch! That came in the tin can.
Yeah,
And that gum
zebra
tasted
was,
good
it was
too.
Good, yeah. I don't think the flavor lasted long.
No.
But what was that other one? The 7. It was in like a red tin or something. I don't know.
Red tin.
And it was.
And it's 7 was a part of
I
it.
thought so. I could be
I don't know.
imagining it. I don't know.
Like an Altoids tin, like type of tin,
No.
or like a more.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Band-Aid tin.
I thought that was the Ouch ones. No, that's the ones I'm talking about. My bad. Yes.
What are they called?
They're called Ouch.
Oh.
With like OUCH and then like a big exclamation point. And there was a red, a green, and
There's a more generic one that I'm thinking of then.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because they almost look like watermelon in a way.
And then there's Hubba Bubba Max, which was in that roll.
Yeah, which
like that
I
with
loved
tape.
Hubba Bubba.
Yeah. that
Oh,
was
the
fun.
bubblegum tape, that was good as well. The Hubba Bubba was always really good because it was always very juicy.
Yeah, it was. And you can make really big bubbles.
I love Double Bubble, but those lost
Double.
flavor
Yeah.
really
That's
fast.
the yellow and blue, right?
I think so.
The
yeah.
tiny ones that were always wrapped like a little piece of candy.
You get them at parades, and they have
Yeah.
like watermelon and sour apple and like all those other
Yeah.
flavors that are really good. Blue raspberry,
Mm.
so great, but their flavor didn't last that long.
This is now a candy podcast.
It is,
You could do a candy podcast.
but I could because I have such a big sweet tooth.
But anyways, this is
BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And it's a party here today because it's our 100th episode. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Okay.
But that's not the same
That's
one
not
you were
what I'm
talking about?
thinking of. But that is
Not Bubbaloo.
Bubbaloo. No.
No.
It had something like a 7 in it. You remember Chiclets?
Yes, I do remember chiclets.
Those were yummy too. I liked them because I could just pour a whole bunch in my mouth
Mm.
and then just make the biggest bubble gum piece.
I would just put them all in my mouth just because I was that kid that just wanted them all at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't see what you're talking about, but
No self-control. Maybe
No.
it didn't have a 7
I
in
have
it.
really bad impulse control.
I would recognize the packaging if I saw it,
Yeah,
but
we'll look
it's
it
been
up.
too
It's
long.
okay.
Yeah.
But for our 100th episode, what are we gonna be talking about today?
Saw
3. Saw 3, you guys. Continuation of the Saw franchise,
Yep.
which we've been covering if you haven't been following with us our past 2 videos. Saw 1 and 2 respectfully.
Yep. Saw 3. This is the one that had the leg twisty scene.
It does. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gross.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome. It's pretty brutal. That is not
Ew.
a way that I would want to go.
No. Oh, and then
Um,
when his head was turned 100
all the way
and you could
around.
see the little,
Mhm.
Top of the spine just
Mhm.
protruding.
Or like whenever his leg was turning
Ugh.
and you see like his bone pop out.
Yeah,
It's
that-
pretty gruesome. That
See, I don't
seems really
remember-
painful.
I don't remember any part of Saw 3 except for that.
Okay, gotcha.
But I remember seeing it in theaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because or it could have been a Saw rewatch,
Mm-hmm.
like for Saw 5. Sometimes they'll like have those.
Re-release, yeah.
Yeah, and they'll like to lead up to it. It could have been that.
Because we would have been like, what, 12
Mm-hmm.
when that came out?
I wouldn't be
06.
surprised if can I even get into an R-rated movie with
The
an adult?
parent, yeah.
Yeah.
They'd
So
have to be
I
with
must
you.
have seen it with an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember that scene, and I feel like I remember watching it on giant television.
Gotcha.
So like a movie theater
Yeah.
screen.
Oh, I can't even imagine watching these like in theater, actually. Wow, that's a lot. This one, actually, out of all of them, this one actually, one scene particular, but there is a lot of it that was like, even for me, I was like, oh, this is a lot.
I was like almost gagging at a few points.
Yeah.
The whole pig scene.
Oh, that was really gross.
That like triggered my gag reflex. I was like, ugh.
And the way it looked when it came out as well.
Oh, it's like chocolate milk.
Yeah, it looked really gross. And like the viscosity of it and the way it looked on him, like gloss, like it looked really weird, like glazed. It was disgusting. And the surgery scene with her and John and the skull.
That was making me. I couldn't look.
I wasn't.
I was looking through the corner of my eye.
Was not looking.
I was
because even I found
taking
myself
notes.
like Amanda being very squeamish
Yeah.
in the moment, and I'm like, oh, that's really weird. But yeah.
Yeah, that was. It was. I mean, they held nothing back. They showed it all.
Yeah,
it
this
was like
one
up
was
close and personal.
pretty brutal, especially
whole
even with
time.
the in the beginning here where we're about to start with Troy and even
Oh,
with Carrie.
yeah. Ugh.
Like it's still pretty gruesome.
It was. Yeah, with Troy, I was like, oh, how Hellraiser of them.
Yeah. It was this one was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman,
Yet again, right?
Mhm.
He directed Saw 2.
and it's from a screenplay by Leigh Whannell, the guy who had written the second one as well, right? And the first one.
I believe so, yeah.
Mhm.
And wasn't
James Wan came
James
back on this
Wan
one to
was
write on the
on it,
storyboard.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So James Wan had a little hand in this one. And this movie made $164.9 million at the box office, and it
Seriously?
had a budget of $10 million.
Wow.
So it made a pretty decent amount. That seems like
It's a
lot
really big payday.
to me.
I'm sure the studio made a lot of that money, and none of the people who actually made it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see that because I remember back in the day, like Saw was really like everybody was like all about Saw.
All
It was really
gung-ho
hyped
about
up,
it, yeah.
especially because they were
Again,
releasing
cult
what
following.
subsequently year after year, 4 or 5, and this is 06 already.
Yeah.
So at this point, they were like, "What's gonna happen next?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were coming back to it. Not a long wait. They were really churning these movies out.
And it really did it. I will say that each Saw movie, at least for 1, 2, and 3 that we've seen, they have a very common thread line through it.
Yeah.
You know, Jigsaw, John, basically mass serial with like, but each movie in itself like tells its own tale and part of the puzzle of what is Saw, I guess, and what it's going to be, even I guess in the other movies, because obviously this one ends with it's going to be continued on.
Yeah.
So I really do enjoy that like each story is in a way different. Like this one focused really heavily on like John and like this couple that we see throughout the movie, whereas the other one focused on the people in the house and like it was more of like a escape room type of situation. And then the first one was more intimate again, but with like two different people that were strangers who didn't know each other.
This one was definitely less police based too. Even though it starts out feeling like it is going to be heavily
because
police based.
Them coming into a crime scene.
Yeah.
I will say though, if I'm just being real off the bat, this is my least favorite out of the three.
Really?
Yeah.
It got a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It was this one, at least for me. And the other two were like an hour and a half ish. This one was 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah, it's an hour and 48 without ads.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, because I saw that it was 2 hours
on that
on Pluto,
and I was like,
went,
what?
Nope.
Sorry, yeah.
And so then I just went and rented it because it was an hour and 48, which still shaved off a few minutes.
If you can fast forward through the ads.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know.
But still, it felt like forever, though.
Yeah.
And also, it did seem as though
it could have ended when Amanda died.
Yeah, it did.
Because we got the flashback of everything, like going through and lining up all the pieces, like how it does at the end of every movie. Yeah. It could have ended right there.
Right there, but then it chose to go a little bit further. The next like 10-ish minutes. Yeah. Overall, we'll just have to get into it. But
and really leaves like a huge hole of like who the fuck's going to be Jigsaw.
And a lot of unopened like questions of like who that lady was in his flashback and all these things. And
I was like, is that his wife?
Yeah, that's what I was giving. Like
she also
wife,
a little bit looked like Carrie.
This is giving a flashback, but then we didn't really get anything from it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, this is obviously setting something up that we're not going to get now.
Yeah, because I mean, even, which I thought was really cool in this one, is when they answered the question that we had of Amanda being Pigface.
Yeah. In the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, which she was.
And so
she's
I
been
liked
helping
how
out this whole time.
That whole time we never got a definitive answer until the third movie.
And it went back and it even showed like him setting up her whole traps situation. Yeah.
Which was, that was kind of cool, piecing that back together. Like it's just a very well thought out in that regard screenplay. And I do agree that there is, I mean, I'm hoping there will be some sort of answer. I don't know. We're not covering the rest right now. But with that whole flashback scene, because otherwise it does feel a little random.
It does. And then there was just, I guess even for myself, I wasn't too emotionally invested in Dr. Lynn or Jeff as characters throughout the movie.
Jeff was rather unlikable.
No, very much
because
so.
He almost killed his fucking daughter.
Yeah. And so almost.
It felt like that's whenever he asked, what would mommy think if she saw us like this?
Oh, yeah.
And then that gun was under there. I thought he was gonna kill her. I thought he was gonna kill them both.
Because, I mean, technically in the end, he kind of did kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're dead.
Yeah, he did kill his wife.
And John was the only one who knew her location. So essentially, I'm assuming that she died and then the doors closed in behind them. So I'm assuming that he's dead in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, no, Jeff was just a shitty character. I didn't care for him. And so the entire time, I just didn't really even. And then the whole like bit of him, like, it was the same thing each time. He's like, I'm not going to save these people. Oh, wait. Yes, I am.
Yeah,
oh, wait. It's too late.
He would hesitate way too long.
Oh, I'm not going to save this guy. Oh, wait. Yes, I am. Oh, wait. Oh, it's almost too late. But then he did kind of get him. But then the dude gets shot in the face anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like,
okay.
What
did we?
And then the last dude, same with this situation. Like, but this was all set up by Amanda as well, which we did learn makes
traps that are unbeatable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's all three, you guys.
I know. I was like, we just did a good job of recapping it.
The entire movie. But
like 15 minutes.
We can get into it. We didn't even have the timer here, do we, today?
No, we don't. I was just looking at that, too.
We've probably been going about like 10-ish minutes, I'd say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll jump into it, you guys.
Well, we start off with a voiceover of the ending of the second one.
Oh, can I also just get into this as well?
Yes.
I hated that we started with Eric Matthews.
Oh, yeah.
And then we spend an entire movie on nothing about Eric Matthews. Like, we got him kind of circling back at the end a little bit with more explanation from John. But other than that, I was just like, But wait, where's Eric Matthews?
I know. Yeah, I thought we were going to spend more
A
time.
continuation directly from what happened in 2.
Yeah, especially because if you're going to start it like that, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
And especially once we go into like with Agent Carey
Mm-hmm.
and them saying it's not him kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
and referring to Agent Matthews, but you also
So
think it's Jigsaw.
Exactly. And so we already know like the things that had transpired in 2, it's probably been like what, a month or 2 or who knows how long after that one. So
Because they've not been able to find him.
Mhm.
And that, that is a little confusing. And it's just like, okay.
it's
why?
something that I'm sure will get tackled later. But also I'm just like, why wouldn't we just do it now?
Yeah.
But like you said, we find him. We're opening up. He is in the bathroom that he got left in at the end of episode or movie 2.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same bathroom from the OG one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a gun on the ground and a flashlight. Was the gun like not loaded or what was it?
The gun, it didn't have any bullets in the thing. Yeah.
Oh,
it's,
the clip
it was, out.
empty.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That part. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It didn't have any rounds. So
Okay.
whenever he and he was like, and he just kind of chunked it.
Yeah, I was like, is the gun fake?
And then, and then he starts taking a look around and he's noticing the dead bodies of Mr. Xavier and then the foot from Dr. Gordon.
Yeah.
Just laying there. And I think finds Adam's body as well.
Yeah, and then he sees Adam's saw
Mm-hmm.
actually Adam's body was gone.
Was it
He
already?
was clipped to where Adam's body was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
She had removed Adam's body, but she saw Adam's saw, and I was like, Adam's saw was broken.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they put in a new saw for
Well, there
him.
was 2 saws though.
Yeah, so maybe they went and grabbed Gordon's
Mm-hmm.
saw. But instead of
And he starts to try to saw the chains, and I'm like, bro, that's not gonna work.
we've already done this.
Well, and also, I feel like anybody with common sense knows that like a little saw like that would not
Get through.
some metal chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're made to specifically not be broken like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he obviously, I love how fast he gives up too. He's just like, and just like throws it on the ground.
Yeah. And he also put his sock in his mouth
As if
whenever
he
was going to chop his foot off.
but then
Ew.
didn't do it.
He
Yeah.
put his sock in his mouth. That was so
I mean,
gross.
He's trying to find something to bite.
Yeah. Icky.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's his face.
anyways, instead of deciding to cut his foot off, he decides to,
Smash it off.
break
I don't
it,
know
break
if
all the
that's
bones.
even any better.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I feel like that might be worse.
Mm-hmm.
More painful, anyways.
Yeah. Because
Ugh.
it's like excruciatingly every time you like move it
But
one
at least
way.
you won't bleed out.
Mm-hmm.
Except for he did bust his foot up pretty bad.
So it could be really bad internal bleeding.
Yeah. It hurt
But
to watch.
it could be busted up just enough to let him get out, but then also like they could fix it and it could heal right.
Yeah, that's
As opposed to be
with a
being
lot
amputated.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
It just,
I don't know.
Regardless, and then it just looked painful. He snaps his ankle and he's able to slide his foot out though,
Mm-hmm.
which was, ugh.
Yeah,
That's
and then
gross.
immediately after that we get a title card.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're with Carrie
Mhm.
running in, and is it him?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing.
Because the police are coming into a crime scene and they had to cut through with like whatever
It was
it's
very
called.
such like a spy
Mm-hmm.
like,
Like steel door.
cutting through with like a laser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the door was welded shut. We find out in a little bit, but it was it was a very difficult way to get into this building, unlike we've seen in the previous times where you could just walk in or out.
Do you think that's what a penis would look like if you were to bite into it?
Yeah,
Right? That's what it's giving.
little more red on the inside.
It's a little pink. And so Carrie rushes in, like you said, asking if it's John. They can't ID him yet because he's obviously fucked up. But it's also just setting up like we haven't found did I say John? But I meant Eric. We haven't found Eric since the last movie.
Yeah.
He's still missing at the hands of Jigsaw. And so she runs in there and eventually I find out his identity is Troy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
because the tape plays
Mm-hmm.
and it says, "Hello, Troy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play a game." You know, our standard opening sequence from Jigsaw.
Very formulaic at this point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he then proceeds to tell him why he's in this situation.
Yeah, he was in prison and
More comfortable in chains than you are
Mhm.
in freedom. basically. And then he says, tonight we'll see how far you're willing to go to break those chains or something
Pretty gruesome.
along those lines. Yeah. And this is where I was like, how very Hellraiser. And it looked like if
Very
Hellraiser
Clive
could have
Barker.
had this like effect with the needles in the skin or the hooks in the skin, it would have been awesome. Because
see
the
that.
practical effects here were really good and disgusting. Ugh,
Very
every time you had to
realistic, and like
rip
it
through.
looked like it was actually coming through. It didn't look like there was any pause or anything because he would just be yank and then like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And the actor, that was a pretty rare, like real portrayal.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like too.
It looked like genuine terror in his eyes.
And like I feel like it was pretty like it would have probably been easy for an actor to like overplay
Yes.
and like be like really exaggerated, but it was just
kind of
enough.
like Amanda dying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it was just enough to like, make it seem real.
Yeah. It was, the chains being in like both of his hands in that soft part, like below your pinky and that meaty part of the palm.
And then just coming out that way and then just feeling like a hand, like a split hand.
Yeah.
Also just seems like a really
or if it
painful-
came this way too, like severing all the nerves and the bones, breaking in between. And then the Achilles heel. The Achilles heel.
Either way, pretty
we should
painful
cover
way to
House
go.
of Wax next.
Oh, we could. I do like that movie.
I do like
and
it
it
too.
has Paris Hilton in
It does have Paris Hilton.
Also, let's also mention the fact that this dude is supposed to get out of this trap or explode because there's a bomb that's about to detonate
In
right next to
1
them.
minute.
In 1 minute at that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All of like, I was like, what the hell? All these like other people have like 2 hours and stuff. And then we get these random ones who are 1 minute, which I guess there were a few.
And number 2, there was that 3-minute door thing, which we never even.
But no one even really died from it.
No.
It was just, you didn't get that. You didn't get that anecdote. But this one, it was like, you have 1 minute to get out of all of these chains. And I don't understand how he was supposed to get that one off his jaw.
Seems impossible.
Yeah. Because I imagine that the face would have to be stronger than that. Like you can't just rip it out like he could those other ones. It wasn't just through his skin. It was through a bone. A really durable one at that.
Amanda, who made these, really like gave no mercy. Like she really made it to where you have to either go through like an incredible amount of pain, and even still, if you were to get out of it, you like she sealed the door shut, so he still wouldn't even been able to get out.
Yeah, and then God, it was really bad.
Talk about
and
power
that's
trip.
what Carrie talks about. She was like, the door was welded shut. Like he couldn't get out if he wanted to. This isn't Jigsaw. Like this isn't
how he works.
Yeah, how he operates. It's not his work. And then we
it's so crazy too. How sorry to cut off. How like intimate she is with this case at this point too. That she knows and understands the mind of a serial killer.
Yeah,
it's given they could have plot twisted in like she was like going crazy and was actually the new mastermind.
I would have liked that. That would have been fun. But then we flash to Carrie's house. She's like getting out of the shower and we see like a ghost Matthews behind her of sorts, like she's hallucinating. And just real quick moment of him being there. And then we're in her room. She's like folding laundry or something, right?
Yeah.
Or doing something.
Well, also just, listening to a lullaby of Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Billy the puppet on the TV.
And then all of a sudden the tape ends and we realize it's a live feed.
I don't know how.
I don't understand how that happened either. Because it was a VHS tape. And then how it was just all of a sudden now connected to her TV. I was a little confused.
A live feed of her in her room coming from the closet in her room.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But they did it. And she gets out of she's investigating, goes towards the closet and realizes that the camera is in fact in there. But as she's messing with it, boom.
Someone behind her pops up in what could be only a pig mask.
Of course. Pig face. Amanda is there.
It's got to be Amanda.
Yeah.
She comes in and she's kidnapping her, of course.
Yep.
And we switch over and we wake up and Carrie is now in a test.
A really wild looking contraption.
Yeah, that's kind of like essentially what the bear trap on the face and the Venus flytrap things were, but like sideways and put on your ribs.
Yep. Ugh, connected to each one of her ribs. That was
Which
pretty
also,
brutal.
How? What?
Yeah, I know. Like getting in there
How?
and
Keep someone knocked out enough just to like
to do all
put
that.
machinery on them, and then that it like clamps into their ribs. Like what?
I feel like she wouldn't be alive.
Regardless,
Yeah.
like there's no way that she was getting out of that. She was doomed from the start.
At this point
Sucks.
in time, like, so I kept falling asleep, and like even to this point, that was when
Yeah.
I texted and was like, "Y'all,
It's
I don't
just a
know if
few
I can
minutes
do it,"
in. Yeah.
because I was only like 10 minutes into the film,
Yeah.
and I was like, I've already like fallen asleep like 3 times,
Yeah.
and then so I paused it, and then whenever I woke up from my nap, I was hungry, so I got food, and Andrew's here, and he was like, I'm gonna wait to eat until we start the movie, and I was like, are you sure? You sure you want to eat and watch this film? And
Good.
he was like,
good suggestion.
I was like, it's pretty gross, and he was like, no, Schlotzsky's holds up well, and I was like, no, I'm talking about Saw. I'm talking about the film. And then after this scene happened where her ribs got ripped off, he was like, okay, this might be a little difficult, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
I could have.
there's no way
that
that I could have been eating and watching this movie because it made me squeamish, and I don't get squeamish.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I had to eat beforehand. I was like, I'm gonna eat right now. I'm just gonna scarf down 3 little pieces of Schlotzsky's pizza, and then we're gonna start the movie.
Yeah,
And that was what I did. But
good call.
yeah,
Because I ate after this. Just ate before coming out, and before knowing that I was about to go eat, I was already kind of getting turned off from like, oh, I don't feel hungry anymore.
like I don't think I can eat.
Yeah, and like food does not sound appetizing right now.
Yeah.
And so she unfortunately has to play this game of putting her hand in a bowl, cup, a beaker of acid, a beaker of acid where a key is at the bottom of it, and
supposedly gonna disintegrate in a matter of a few seconds. It
Yeah.
said. There was some sort of tablet that was like, I guess, making it more basic or something at the time, and then
I don't know.
As the video went off, I don't really understand.
I don't know the science,
but
apparently she had to beat not only the key like fizzing out, but also a timer that's gonna make those things pop off of her ribs. So yeah, it's crazy.
It was. And Jigsaw was savage. Whenever he was like, hello, Carrie, I want to play a game. And he was like, you're dead on the inside. You identify more with a cold corpse than a living human being. I was like, damn. And then whenever she wasn't reaching in there at first, I was like, bitch, you only got a minute. You don't got time to sit there, be chugging on these chains and stuff.
And then she was just like, she put it in one time and then took it out. And I was like, no, you should have just went in and just committed.
Got it over with. Yeah. Really fast, because it's either that or you're dead. Those are your 2 options.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she was kind of dead regardless.
Even when I was watching the dude with the chains with them stuck into, like at the beginning, Troy, I just thought like, I just wait.
Yeah, just blow up.
I'll just blow up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll just take it. Like, it's
Jigsaw
fine.
would hate us. We just be like, okay, kill me.
I'm not even going to try. Because, like, that seems really painful. And if I'm going to die anyways, I don't want to spend my last minute just, like, in excruciatingly pain.
When
like,
I could just go out.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay. Done.
Exactly.
And also, yeah, if you do get your ribs ripped out, like, how fast of a death is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that, like... I don't know how fast you die.
Maybe it's a slow death. I mean, her internal organs were exposed, and I imagine
still pumping, and
that maybe her intestines could have fallen out a little bit later.
Does your body just go into so much shock that your psyche just shuts out at least?
Probably. I don't know.
That's crazy.
I'm sure there's not a lot of tests on this.
We'll have to Google that up later.
But right before... I was also like, damn, I hope she doesn't drop that key from how much her hand was shaking from the acid, obviously.
Yeah.
I was like, what, man, imagine if she fucking dropped it. She can't get it.
What she did end up unlocking it.
Yeah.
And then dropping the key because she was done with it. But then they weren't coming off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
It
And then
seemed like a cheat.
she looks up, and right before she explodes, we see
Amanda walk in.
which we don't know at this point is Amanda, but I already at this point knew.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was Amanda.
I was like, that's Amanda.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It looked like her legs.
Mm-hmm.
And since she was the accomplice, I just assumed it was her.
Who else could it be?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's Sean.
John's got some skinny legs now.
It's Dr. Gordon.
Yeah.
And so that's actually, yeah. And also at this point, where the fuck has Dr. Gordon gone?
I know.
We
I'm
never
wondering.
got-
I was hoping they were gonna whenever they
just thought
explained
about that.
Adam's death,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, Adam didn't necessarily have to die in there per se, just because the game over thing
Yeah.
happened. He still
Mhm.
could have probably gotten out.
But they really wanted us to know, like, no, he died.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because, and then, like, of course, we got that once his corpse was in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they haven't explained what happened to Gordon at
That's
all.
crazy. Yeah.
And so I was hoping that once they explained Adam's death, they were going to explain Gordon's death,
Mhm.
because they also explained Matthew's death. And I was like, okay, but I need Lawrence.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Because now that I thought about it, I was just like, oh shit, I've got no no.
Yeah. Did he
what's the
ever make
word?
it out, or
Yeah.
or are we just supposed to infer that and assume that he bled out?
What's that word that you get like at the end of relationships? Closure. Sorry.
Closure.
Yeah, I've got no closure with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so anyways, poor Carrie just, taken out really, really brutally in front of
Yeah.
us. And then it cuts to after that, to this couple being weird, who
Yeah.
is Dr. Lynn, which we find out later. And I guess we never get a name from this
His
guy.
name's Chris.
Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris.
He was like, do something, Lynn. And then she was like, what do you want from me, Chris?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And then this man says he wants a divorce.
Which I'm so confused about.
I know. I guess maybe he was just like joking or something. I don't know.
Because I don't see how she could be married to two people.
To two people, yeah. Because I gathered before like Jeff walked in, I was like, okay, she's the wife.
Mhm.
The moment he said, and about your son, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
she's the mom.
Yeah.
And then, but then whenever I thought back to this moment here, I was
At
like,
the beginning, yeah.
yeah, I was like, what? 'Cause
I don't know if it
that
was
man
just meant to
said-
just really throw us off the
Yeah.
entire time, which I guess, yeah. But also, like,
What a weird thing to
It
say
seems
just
really
between
weird.
fuck buddies.
yeah.
Unless he really was just joking, being like maybe Jeff had said,
Well, it
I
was-
want a divorce
And
or
it was
something.
also really weird, too, because even when John was talking about it later with her, whenever he was talking about why, men who can't look at their wives and wives who sleep with other men who aren't their husbands in hotel rooms.
Yeah,
So then why would he fucking say I want a divorce?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
it was
Yeah.
weird. With
knows?
barely a stranger kind of thing. They didn't seem like strangers.
But still, even then, even if they were like, if me and Robert, if I wanted to break up with Robert right now, I wouldn't be like, I want a divorce.
Yeah,
And we're in a relationship. Like, that's
Yeah.
weird. We're not married.
that would be weird.
Yeah, that's weird. But anyways,
I guess it was really
I don't
just
want to
meant
break up
throw
with you,
us.
by the way, babe. If you're listening, I don't. That wasn't me saying that. Okay.
Robert calls you immediately. What the fuck?
Episode 100.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
Hey there, homeowners. Is it time to give your yard a complete makeover this summer? Villani Landshapers, a local family-owned business, has been transforming landscapes for more than 20 years. Villani Landshapers specializes in landscape design build, retaining walls, outdoor living spaces, and so much more. Request your free consultation today and check out their gallery of residential work at villani-landshapers.com.
So now we're in the hospital room because
We
Lynn
are.
got called to the hospital. She had to go in at 9.
Even though she's supposed to go in at 11 usually.
Yeah.
But they switched things up on her in the last minute.
Yep. So she went in and she was sitting there in the locker room as she's being called to trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets there just in the nick of time. And it's a little boy who was roughly the same age as Daniel was.
When her son died. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she's thankfully able to save or at least stabilize this little boy. But it took a nurse dragging her out of there.
Yeah, it was like she had to get chewed out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because she wasn't in her right mind.
No, she's
Yeah.
taking apparently antidepressants.
Yeah.
So she's kind of probably in like a drugged up state of mind most of the time.
Yeah. Very mellowed.
Mm-hmm. Not in like a doctor
Numb.
trying to like, perform
Save
surgeries and
lives.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Think fast.
But doctors need antidepressants too.
I'm sure they do. I could
would.
never be a doctor.
If I was a trauma nurse or something,
Mm-mm.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
No way. No way.
I could never deal with that amount of a responsibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot.
It's other people's lives. Because even if you're not saving someone's life, like immediately, like someone doesn't come in with like a fucking pole through their chest, like you're also making decisions that can affect them later.
Yeah.
Like anything, like
Exactly.
whatever. Like that's crazy.
Terrifying.
Terrifying. Too much responsibility. I'd kill people.
Yeah.
Not on purpose,
accident. Yeah.
but on accident. And I couldn't live with that. Mm-mm. And so after getting chewed out and then like her being like, oh shit, what the fuck? She ends up wanting to go to her locker and get her shit. But in the locker changing area, whatever doctor's headquarters are, she gets locked in.
Yep. She's locked in.
And she's like, what the fuck? And so she's trying to call someone for help.
Yeah.
But essentially she ends up getting confronted by Piggy Face.
Yep. Pig face gets her.
And so we all know what that means. She's
That
been
means
abducted.
She's been abducted and
Mhm.
now she's going to be.
Playing a game.
Yep. And I was like, oh, have they kidnapped her to keep John alive? That was my initial thought.
Mhm.
And yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
John's looking extra dead.
Yeah. He's not
John
looking that great.
looked rough. He did not look good at all.
Looks like me now after like
And me.
a night of drinking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't drink, but I did get home really late.
Mm-hmm. Even just staying up late. You're right. Yeah.
With
Just
it.
not getting adequate sleep.
Yeah. And I had a lot of stress yesterday
Mm-hmm.
just because it was contest day.
Yeah.
Makes me stressed.
It happens.
I lost a nail and it ripped below the nail line.
Ooh, painful.
And it bled a lot.
I'm sorry.
It's like a Saw movie happening.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
It's even still red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still, my finger's swollen too,
Mm.
like to the touch, and it like keeps throbbing. It was,
Fingers bleed a lot.
yeah. I wasn't actually ready for how much it was going to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was fine and stuff, but like all of a sudden I looked down and it was just like blood.
So much blood.
And I was
yeah.
like, oh shit. Because at first I was like, I'm fine. And then I was like, okay, I need to go clean this up. And I did. And then I was bleeding through all the napkins I kept getting through for
yeah.
it.
And the thing about
finally
cutting
stopped.
your fingers or breaking like shit like that, your nails, like they throb.
Yeah.
It's just like pulsating
There's
the
the-
rest of
yeah.
the time. So you're
Boom,
just
boom,
feeling
boom.
it.
Yeah. It's still throbbing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it feels, like when the skin's like extra taut
Yeah.
over everything, that's how my finger feels.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Not a fun feeling.
And so also not a fun feeling is John.
Yeah.
Pretty much basically dying on the table. And so we do get to find out here that Lynn knows John because she was one of his doctors. She is part of, I guess, Dr. Gordon's team, or was one of the doctors.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gordon was a doctor at her hospital
Yeah.
as well.
So she essentially also delivered the news to him that he was dying.
Yep.
Which he found to be cold. And that's why he hates her now.
And calculated. Yeah. And he gave her a very similar line to what I believe he gave Gordon. He says, Dr. Dinlin, you may not remember me, but I certainly remember you.
Yeah.
I feel like he said that exact words
Mm.
to Gordon, but I don't remember.
He said that at
Yeah.
the beginning along those same lines, or the same gist. Essentially, he's just still pretty pissed off about his cancer diagnosis.
Yep.
I mean, man's bitter.
Really bitter.
Really, really bitter.
Unnecessarily so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that does suck, but most, like we said,
Yeah.
most people have a more positive approach to it.
Yep, because
Not killing other people.
his whole reasoning for also like exactly because his whole reasoning for him like using her as a pawn is that one, I guess she's the one who told him about the cancer, so he's really bitter about that. But then he's like trying to throw at her as like you're neglecting your family and you're like
You're dead
you're
inside.
dead inside, and like I'm like, bruh, yeah, she's processing the trauma of losing her child.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
She didn't do
has
anything wrong.
A good right to be. And then like exactly whenever Jeff, when he was like, you're a shell of your like former self since your son died.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, anyone fucking would be.
Mm-hmm.
I would be. Years or not, I don't think you just recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's your children are arguably like some of the most important things in the world to most people. And I can't imagine losing a child.
Yeah.
Like,
what is that?
no.
Didn't they say a parent shouldn't bury their child?
Yeah.
And so, I apologize. You should have not have brought these in.
The gummy worms.
I've just had a gummy worm in my mouth non-stop this entire time.
Oh, I found the timer.
Oh, God.
It's in the seat with me.
It's okay.
Oh, we're chaotic.
I made it work.
We're allowed to be. It's our 100th episode.
Mm-hmm.
And this was our celebratory cake because I wanted to bring some sort of cake or something, but I didn't know
Perfect.
it was our 100th episode. And I was like, well, I have these gummy worms I was eating on the school bus yesterday.
I love gummy worms. I love anything gummy, honestly, though.
Yeah, me
but
too.
sour is good,
I'm
too.
not supposed to because it has gelatin.
Oh, is gelatin bad for you?
Gelatin just technically has animal byproducts in it.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it like horse ground up?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Same with glue.
Glue is horses ground up.
Gelatin has like bone in it.
But how do they do that? Why? How does that turn into one thing to the other? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to me to think that like that would turn into something like this, or that they turn into glue.
Yeah. And marshmallows as well.
What is marshmallows? What is marshmallows?
It has gelatin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Anything that's gummy or like
gum, like
fluffy like that. Yeah. Because marshmallow fluff. Yeah. It's a gelatinous kind of form.
And that comes from ground up horse bones.
I believe so.
Right?
Maybe not horse bones, but it definitely
Animal
is bone. Yeah.
Human bones?
Maybe. We're cannibals now. Eating gummy worms, cannibals. Look, and they're in a animal shape worm.
They are. Okay, stop, because I want more. I'm only gonna go to the store after this because okay. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. So John is really fucking pissed about the cancer, and he's telling her like, "This is why you're here. You got to keep me alive, because otherwise you die." Oh, and also there's this man, and he's gonna be playing a game as well. And if you
Oh yeah, and he says the words "your will to keep someone alive" is being tested, which we find out
wasn't
that
even
all
for
of these
her.
words weren't for her.
No.
Yeah.
Very cryptic, John is being.
All for Amanda.
Yeah, but Amanda is obviously helping and facilitating this test for Lynn. He's explaining these rules to her, and then he says, "You just have to keep me alive until that man makes it all the way to me, and then you're free to go," essentially.
Yep.
And so she's just like, and obviously Lynn is like pretty freaked out right now and pretty like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I would be too.
But
and he says, "You're a vital part of my puzzle, Dr. Denlin." And he was like, "It could be my final test." And he said, "Amanda, it's time to start our game."
Yep.
Which was also being like, Amanda.
for her.
Yeah. Which was, I wasn't honestly really expecting that.
I didn't catch any of that.
No.
I didn't catch any of this until it was getting explained later. And
then
I was like, oh, shit.
oh.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But then when he started saying it, I was like, oh, yeah, all of this makes okay sense, I guess.
Yeah.
So then it made me think, like, was fucking Jeff and Lynn even necessary? Like,
no. I don't think they were.
Just putting other people's lives in jeopardy.
Well, it was to test her will to keep them alive because she didn't want to keep Lynn alive because she got jealous.
Yeah.
Low key, that's what I got.
Oh, also too, yeah, she was like low key wanting to fuck John.
Yeah, whenever she was like whimpering, my closed captioning said whimpering. Whenever she was like rubbing her face on his and stuff, and I was like, what the fuck?
Amanda was giving really weird vibes the
yeah.
entire time.
I was like, she's got.
And then whenever she would come walk into the room and she saw John holding like Lynn's hand and stuff, or whenever he was thinking about that blonde lady and then was like, I love you. And looked at her, but she was like, the fuck?
No, clearly he just had his brain opened.
Yeah,
like,
he's delirious.
Yeah.
She's crazy. She does not think straight.
Amanda also gave much bigger like bitch than she did in
previous versions.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, damn, who is this Amanda?
Yeah.
She was pretty nice, at least a little bit. In the last one, she still tried to help Daniel.
But Jay was more or less trying to like.
It was a play. She was acting.
Yeah.
Okay. True.
Yeah. This one gave more like she was probably showing her true colors.
Yeah.
Of course, because she obviously was a murderer.
Yeah, she was, because she had.
Psychopath.
We find out that she killed lots of people, and well, John despises murderers.
He's honestly on some bullshit.
He is. He's so beyond himself.
I don't condone murder. I am not. He gives very Trump vibes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what it's giving.
Yeah, I agree.
Very hypocritical vibes.
And then like, wasn't it from like the Ted Bundy tapes or something? Like Ted really. It was one of those, or I was like the mind of a serial killer or something. I was watching one of those shows, and someone was really like almost not. Yeah, it was the Ted Bundy tapes. Just listening to him talk about the cases, and as if he was like not
connected to it.
Yeah, at all. And it was like, dude, no, you did this.
Like no remorse.
You
like,
fucking did
yeah.
all of this. What the hell?
Some people are crazy like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, not the word crazy, but like some people are like associated with their own actions like that.
Yeah, that they truly believe that they were in the right, which is just bizarre. That's mental illness for you. It can get.
Yeah, John at this point literally thinks
things.
Everything he does is like perfect.
Yeah.
Everything he does is like to help people.
It's a God complex for like just what it is at a base level. And it's dark. But basically, this is where we get Jeff now. We're with Jeff in a box, and it says, hello, Jeff. And he's like,
I would like to play a game.
I would like to play a game.
Yep.
You've become a shell of your former self, vengeance against the man who killed your only son, blah, blah, blah. With each test, you'll have a chance to forgive. And in 2 hours, the doors will lock, and this place will become your tomb. So we got 2 hours on the clock. We're with this man. We figure out.
Which seems more like John's setup.
Yeah. It does.
Like, this is definitely something that John is setting up as opposed to when Amanda was setting up all that dumb shit with Carrie and all that.
And it gives that, too, because he was like, this might be my final test, like that I get to play out kind of thing.
Because he was about to die.
Yeah. And so his hands, like this was the last one he was going to get to do.
Hands on.
Yeah. And so, for the whole time, I thought this was definitely John's work. And then we flash back to Jeff, the dad, being drunk and practicing what to say to the guy who killed his son. And just like, come here, I'm your teacher, blah, 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 stuff. I was like, what?
Basically just trying to live out what would be his fantasy of everything he'd ever want to say to the person who took the only thing he cared about.
Yep.
Apparently.
Even though he's got a daughter.
And a wife.
Yep.
Yeah. And so all that's happening. And
his
I think,
poor daughter, she was being so neglected. I thought he was going to she was so scared. You could tell whenever he came in after that.
Yeah.
Whenever he heard the children's laughing or whatever. And I was like, oh no, please don't hurt her.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
If anything, that would have gave Jigsaw even more motive.
Yeah. For real.
Like why he should be there.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think I have Lynn testing John for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. I think basically I might have skipped to part 2, because then do you have the whole her getting ready to go to school thing?
Oh, the little girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
So
no, I don't have that here, but I remember it.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, though, that's where I was talking about that, where I was like, I feel like he was going to kill her and himself in that instance. Whenever he said, what do you think? Like if mommy would say if she could see us like this or something like that. And
sounds deranged.
Yep. And then whenever he pulls back the T-shirt and we see the gun there, I was like, ugh. And I was like, good thing she was like, okay, well, I'm going to go get ready for school.
Yeah.
because I felt like if she would have stayed in there longer and kept talking, he could have gone off the rails. And then we get him getting out of the box too.
Yeah, he gets out of the box. And at that point, I don't know, is he already come into contact with his first picture clue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a little note that says, "Open the door, Jeff." And then there's a key and a photo inside. And it's of himself at that point, right?
But it's like ripped out from like another bigger picture.
A whole picture, yeah. And so it's a part that has his picture on it.
He's essentially like a puzzle piece.
And then this is where, Lynn is testing
John, and
John.
she's trying to like get his metrics and like checking, you know, what doctors do to like give you a checkup essentially.
And she's noting all the things, and she's basically like, this man needs to be in a hospital.
Literally.
Have
And
his
then
brain
Amanda comes in and
decompress.
she's being a fucking bitch.
Yep, this is where I put, damn, Amanda is a bitch now. Because, damn.
Fucking cunt.
Yep, your favorite word.
I love it. Because she's just arguing with her, and Lynn especially just being like you said, like there's no way that I can help him here. Like he needs to go to a hospital. He's on the verge of death, and like there's nothing that I can do for him.
And she's kind of like, good try.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, she's telling you the truth. This man's really close to death.
And then I think even at that point, because she's Amanda's arguing with Lynn, she's telling John starts to yell at Amanda and get onto her. And
he's like, our doctor can't do what it's being asked of her if you're threatening her.
Exactly.
Because Amanda's like, he chose you. He chose you. With a gun or something.
Like you can already tell she's unhinged at having to go along with this plan for some reason. And it might be like striking up some insecurity she has. And John ends up convulsing at this point because he's having to yell at her, I guess.
This part was actually pretty scary.
And he starts like going into like a fit.
Kind of sad for Amanda because her acting was pretty good there, where she was like crying and stuff. I thought
because she obviously at this point cares a lot for John in a weird, maybe love interest type of way.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe or father figure type of way, which is really weird. And she's like trying to seek his approval, but he's fucking dying, and Lynn's like.
He's like throwing up.
Lynn is even like, see, bitch? Like, what else do you need to see? Like, he needs to go to a hospital.
And he starts throwing up blood and stuff too, right? Yeah, because they hold the oxygen mask on it.
Yeah.
On him, and it starts filling with blood.
And Lynn's explaining like he needs to go into surgery.
Yeah.
And Amanda can't take it. I think at that point she like walks out or something like that.
Well, she says, we do it here.
That's right. Well, yeah, because isn't that when Lynn's telling her they need to take her to the hospital, take him, and then she's like, "Did I bring John to you, or did I bring you to John?"
Exactly. And then that's when she was like, "We do it here."
And I need a drill.
Yep. She's like, "We need anesthetic and a power drill," and it was like, "Oh,
yeah,
yikes." And then we're back with Jeff, I think, right?
My name's Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
And Jeff is walking around.
Yep.
Like what looks to be like hallways of an abandoned something. I don't know.
We're clearly in this building that Jigsaw loves to use. And the cops apparently haven't figured that out.
It's the same building for every trap.
Yep.
And he comes across a woman that's chained up.
Yep.
She is basically chained up like by her hands and wrists and hanging, dangling there. And that's whenever where does he find the tape this time?
It was like on the floor in the corner of the room.
Just like there.
Yeah.
Because he picks it up and he starts playing it, and essentially
you find out her name's Danica Scott.
Yep.
Which Danica Scott, what a name.
It sounds like a race car driver.
Yeah.
I think
that's
like
because
that.
there is one who's
Danica.
Patrick.
Okay.
Danica Patrick.
Yeah, there you go. That's what rings a bell. But we find out that she apparently was a witness to his son's murder.
Not only a witness, the only witness.
Yeah. But she took off.
Yep.
She did not stay to report or like to claim anything.
And she could have been the one that brought the killer to justice, basically, if she would have provided her not alibi, but her witness testimony. But she decided not to. And she's then like, you can tell it's freezing cold in this room because you can see their breath. And then all of a sudden she's getting sprayed with this like cold water, which is, that just seems awful.
I hate getting sprayed.
Too cold. Yeah.
With water, cold water. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like this is torture for you and I.
Yeah.
absolutely not. Do not spray me. And then I don't like the cold
I don't
either.
Yeah.
So this is the worst death that could possibly happen. And it seems like such slow and torturous.
Antagonizing. You can't do anything. The way when she's getting sprayed with water, she's just like all she can do is just scream.
Because I imagine, like whenever something's so cold it burns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, freezer burn.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I imagine what it had to have felt like.
Poor thing.
And this is where he's, like we talked about earlier, just going back and forth.
Of like,
Jigsaw tells him exactly where the key is.
and what he needs to do, but he's just like, I should let you rot because of what you did and all
My
this.
son died,
And she's
so
like,
you can die.
and I love how she's like, I made a mistake. I'm human, just like
I'm
your
so
son.
sorry.
Well, she said, I'm a human, just like your son. I was like, do not
"Ooh,
bring up his
bitch."
son.
Yep. Wrong choice of words there. But
Literally.
apparently it worked because then he was like, okay, fine. I'll go get the key.
And he ends up trying to, but ends up like taking a big old chunk out of his face because
Yeah,
he gets it
his
up.
face
It's
got
very like, what's that? Christmas Story?
a Christmas story.
Carol? I don't know. Yeah. Where they get the tongue stuck on the pole. And also, too, at this point, you can tell like it's too late.
Yeah.
And he still does it.
Because she was
Still hurts
basically
himself.
frozen.
Yeah.
Already. Like she already had a solid sheet of ice over her.
And when he's trying to go after to try to like turn the key into whatever he's turning, it's all frozen solid. Like he can't even fit a key into any type of keyhole because it's frozen solid. So, by this measure, I would say that his actions have sucked. Because she's dead. And it didn't even matter.
And I thought the whole idea was to forgive. So I guess if he
redemption.
just tries to save them, it
and
counts.
that's good enough, I guess.
Yeah, I was so confused.
Me too. And then I was even more, I was just super confused at like, were these tests then made by Amanda or by John? Because like this one, or even the one with the twisty bones, just kind of seemed unbeatable in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The pig one, I guess, not so much. That one was relatively easy,
dark.
but very dark because he
Yeah.
had to burn his kid's shit.
Which was like, damn, that's fucking.
Really personal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he could have, if he would have just immediately went and got the key, she could have lived.
Yeah, that's
She
true.
could have lived.
Yeah.
So I think it was totally beatable. He just hesitated way too long.
Which he does on each one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he had no reason really to hesitate. She was a
Mhm.
bystander. And she was like, I didn't do anything. And he was like, that's exactly it. You did
Yes,
nothing.
you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like, I understand. I would be upset too, but I don't think I would I mean, of course, you can never really know until you're in that situation. But I would like to imagine I wouldn't
Yeah.
let that person die
Just die.
because of,
Or at least in that way.
I wouldn't want to like go about living. I would want the killer to be behind bars, but it doesn't
Suffering
even
daily.
seem like it was
Mhm.
like if it was a drunk driver, that's like one thing. This guy, like, it seemed just like a really unfortunate circumstance. Like the kid went into the road,
Yeah.
and
It's like more like, where were you
yeah,
as a parent?
exactly.
Like
You were
we're
sitting there on the playground, probably
not paying
not
attention.
paying attention
Yeah.
until, and who knows?
What wife on the playground were you flirting with that your kid? Anyways.
He was sitting at the end of the slide, and I was like, "Sir, you're blocking that for all the little kids that want to come down the slide." Mean. That's no.
That's
never
karma.
mind.
That's karma. Yeah. That's why your son deserved to die. Sorry. And so he ends up
I wasn't gonna say it.
I'll say it for you.
Thank you.
He ends up getting that chunk taken off his face, tries to save her, but it's too late. So anyways,
She's
by
a
this point,
popsicle.
she's dead. And so Jeff is not okay. He really is not. He seems like he's kind of like freaking out, I guess, a little more at this point because now it's even more realistic. Oh, like this bitch just died in front of me.
Yeah. And then he
Um,
finds a box,
Yep.
and the note on it says, "One bullet will end it all.
Mm-hmm.
One ring to rule them all."
It's very Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
The Hobbit. And he ends up finding another picture, and it's a picture of his son.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell it's clearly a part of the same photo.
Yeah.
Um.
It goes together with his picture.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I think it cuts back to Lynn, and she's getting things ready for surgery.
Yep. And she finds Amanda's headpiece.
Looking
which-
around the room and stuff. She's seeing all the torture shit.
Yep.
Which makes us harken back to the first movie. I keep
Mhm.
wanting to call them episodes. They seem like episodes. And so Amanda and Lynn are talking, and Amanda's being very cryptic. And I remember, I think, they're talking about their surgery, and Lynn is basically just trying to warn Amanda and just being like, if we do this here, like, he's going to die.
Yeah, she says, I have the tools to cut someone open, not save a life. And then she says, this is where Amanda says,
right.
You'd be surprised what tools can save a life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we flash back to see John building the bear trap, reverse bear trap, rather, for her.
And also making Billy... Excuse me, so sorry, guys. The puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making the little puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And is it that its name, Billy?
Yeah, I think that's what people call it, Billy.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I saw it on the thing online.
Good to know.
But I haven't heard anybody call him Billy.
In the film.
I just read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. On a Reddit.
I always just refer to him as Jigsaw. But that could just be me and my ignorance of not really knowing this.
We don't care. We're going to call him the fuck we want to call him.
Yep.
Yep.
The little puppet thing. But yeah. And then we see this is where she flashes back, or we're with them now. And he says, there's some things I need you to do for me.
Yeah.
John is talking to Amanda now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. After we got that whole setup of him putting her through the first test, and how we came to Amanda. And it's also at this point, I feel like where we were getting more insight of, like, it's giving like she's in love with him.
Yeah.
I don't know why through the storytelling, it just seems like
he says something like, you're giving me every ounce of your body, like in your soul, like
it's
every
so
bit
weird,
of you.
Yeah.
It felt very odd. The
cultish. And at this point, she also informs John that Jeff has passed it through the first room.
Yep. And then she goes and finds that envelope with her name on it. And then she's basically coming back, right? And says that she can't do this.
Yeah.
And he's saying, like, you're stronger now, blah, blah, blah.
She's like, throughout this whole movie, having like an internal dialogue or breakdown or whatever it is.
Yeah, she seems very conflicted.
Struggle.
But also not, because she's like killed.
Yeah, she's a murderer, but I think it's more so because things are going the way that she wants them to go.
Yeah.
Like I feel like at this point is in a phase of like more so trying to take the game from Jigsaw.
Yeah.
But Jigsaw is also still alive. And then also in a way she still wants his approval, like almost in like a daddy look how good I am way.
Yeah.
But yeah. She's also just a fucking psychopath. So nothing makes sense.
That's true.
And so we're back with Jeff, and he's walking through, and this is whenever he finds that tricycle. And it's got Billy the puppet laid out, like his kid.
Just like his son was. I was like, ooh, that's
pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And of course
it picks it up, starts laughing.
It starts laughing like in all the movies. And that's whatever.
He says he sees a door that says time to let go on it.
Yeah.
And
goes through it.
That's where we find some man locked inside this metal vat kind of thing, this giant metal cylinder.
Yeah, which I was like, wait, what is that? Because you can obviously hear him calling out, and we don't see him at first. But
yeah.
And climbing up, I don't know what that is even all supposed to even be anyways. Like what?
I guess
a mill, some type of...
Yeah, something where they make probably sausage.
Maybe. But we have this dude, and he's chained up, and he's at the bottom of the hole, and we get a tape, and it's basically saying that this is the judge from the case of his son who had sentenced the dude that had killed his son to a very light sentence.
Of 6 months.
Of 6 months only, yeah.
Which I was like, that's it? For like vehicular manslaughter?
I don't know.
I mean, it wasn't premeditated. And then like the guy was young, 27, a med student, stuff like that. That doesn't make it better. But it's like, again, it's not this guy who is drunk driving. It was like this. Sorry, that was just funny to see you go, no. Hard pass to that one.
If it was the only one left, yeah. But I saw that, like, no, I see some of your friends are in there. How about you tell them to come out here?
How about you tell the red and blue ones to come my way?
It's very creeper vibes. That was creepy. That sounded creepy. Actually, no, your friends are hotter. Why don't you tell them to come outside? Okay, there we go.
But yeah, that's, I don't know. That still is a very light sentence.
Yeah, I can see.
I would be I would be pissed
Peeved,
off.
yeah. And so we have him saying, John essentially is like, you can either save this man by burning the possessions that you've been holding on to for too long that are your sons, and receiving a key, or you could let this man just die.
Yep. And that's
pretty much
all it takes.
Yeah.
And we see that how he's going to die is he's chained like flat on the ground with the chain around his neck in this vat, as we said. And all of a sudden, as that's happening,
big fat pigs
that are covered in maggots, they're rotted.
Yeah.
They are not like a fresh pig.
No.
They are brown.
They're decay.
And it is, oh God, it was so nasty.
I bet it smells so bad in there.
It had to have. I would have probably thrown up and died
in my
suffocated.
own vomit. Yeah,
that way.
Because
Before anything.
It's so much.
It was.
Essentially, these pigs get thrown into a grinder that then transports all the juice and mulch of the pig into the vat where the judge is. So he is essentially getting drowned in pig
sludge.
Which is disgusting.
And
I bet it's hot too.
Ew. And then all of a sudden, as we're like waiting for Jeff to make his fucking decision, which again, this is one that's a bit harder. Like, and I can understand why he's hesitating this time.
To burn the stuff?
Yeah. Because I wouldn't want to burn my kids' possessions.
The last line that you have of him.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be able to do that. The pigs start coming faster though. They start just basically, they were every like 3 or 4 hooks, and now they're like every hook. And it's just like doom, 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 pig. Ew.
Juice.
So gross.
Juice. Yeah.
Ew. But he hesitates almost a little too long, but eventually does save this man. So he gets him out, and then we flash back to the scene that we were talking about, where John's skull is getting cut open.
Oh yeah, this scene, like, honestly made me want to throw up.
Yep, it was really and
it was a combination of
she pulled back the flap of skin.
You know what's real weird? Because even looking away, it was also the combination of not just this visual, but hearing
and all the
drill and the saw, and this is like it felt very like at the dentist.
Yes. Yeah. With that high pitched whining. Yeah. It was this scene. If you want to be grossed out, here you go. Watch this scene. Because it was just brutal. Like, I mean, I know it's a very common thing, and like that this has to happen all the time. You have a brain flap cut out.
And the fact that he has to be awake for it as well.
Yeah, which is bizarre.
Has to be fully alert.
Whenever she was like, John, how you doing? And he's like, never better. I was like, okay. What?
Yeah, so she essentially has to drill like 4 holes into his skull after cutting the skin open, of course. And then we get a saw, and we have to connect all these 4 holes together. So then she can then pop this little sucker out, like as if it was like a piece of a watermelon.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Or like a pumpkin, when you're carving a pumpkin.
Yeah.
And you take that part out. And then we just had exposed brain.
And it had that weird little film over it.
That she had to cut through.
Yeah. I didn't like that either. For some reason, that really grossed me out. It was like a sausage casing.
Yeah. And at this point, she's in there all the way. She's deep in there. She's asking him again, like, if he's okay. But then he starts to go into whatever it is when it's bad, and he passes out.
Yep.
He's crashing.
Because at first I was like, oh, she did it. And then I was like, immediately, like, JK,
nope.
maybe not.
Because at first he was stable for a minute, and then he just started going downhill.
He starts plummeting, and it was like,
and then he starts going into that like dream state, and
where he's having visions of his lover of sorts. And then as he wakes up and kind of comes back to, he's like, I love you at Dr. Lynn. And that's where Amanda was like, nah.
She does not like that. Yeah.
From that. And then we flash towards where we see Adam being kidnapped by Pigface.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is where we get that definite answer that it was Amanda who kidnapped Adam. And
she did kill him.
Yep.
She suffocated him. And that's whenever we do find out as well that that Jeff is finding another pic of his clues, and it's a picture of his daughter.
Yeah.
And the judge is trying
we
to...
also get her cutting the inside of her leg.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was, I think she cut the inside of her leg each time she killed someone. Was what it was. Yeah. And then I like how it also answered, because remember in the first one I was like, I wonder how in the hell did they not see him breathe? But he injected himself. John did.
Oh, yeah, whenever he was on the floor.
Yeah. He injected himself with something that slowed down his heart rate and relaxed his muscles. So that way he basically was in an almost dead state.
The whole time.
Yeah. And then whenever he's talking to Lynn, he says in the end that Amanda will be the closest I've ever come to being understood, but her emotion is also her weakness.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But you're right. Then that's where
Jeff finds the other clue.
Yeah, Jeff finds the other clue, and it says, "Here's your chance," written on the door. And that's where the picture of his daughter is. And you're one step closer to your revenge, kind of thing.
Yep.
And
that's whenever we have him walking in. Yeah. I think the judge was also trying to talk to him at that point too, like being like, no matter how long I would have sentenced someone, like you would still be angry. Like there's nothing that will take away your pain. Like the judge is trying to like reason with him.
Like 500 years or something, and that still wouldn't bring your son back.
But they end up in that next room, and the killer is in there.
Yep.
He's strung up in your favorite trap.
Yeah, and that's what Jigsaw says.
It's Jigsaw's favorite trap.
Yeah. He says, "You're strapped to one of my personal favorites, the rack."
The rack. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was the wrath or the rack.
I think it's the rack.
I didn't have the captions on.
Captions aren't always correct.
That's true.
But I think it said the rack.
Did it get brighter in here? That's just me.
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe your brain turned on.
I think it did. But yeah, he's strung up, and essentially, this is obviously the guy who killed his son that we've been kind of building up to the entire time. And this trap will essentially twist all of his extremities.
Yeah.
Just keep twisting and
he says he has the potential to survive it, but he doesn't because it had the head one.
I don't see how he could have survived it.
Yeah. And
even if in time.
Andrew was like, how is he not passed out yet? And I was like, from just the pain.
Yeah. Because even if you were to break one or two, they're even if you were
them splintering,
everything splintering, like your body would just shut down. Like your body cannot handle that much. No, I don't feel like it could.
I feel like he would pass out.
But
and then of course there's a key that unlocks this trap, but it's strapped to a shotgun.
A shotgun, yes.
Yeah. So when you pull the key out, you also get a bullet. Which I was like, that's not just a normal bullet. That's a shotgun shell.
To the face.
Yeah.
Like you're dead. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't help.
But obviously Jeff did find a way to like.
Yeah, he tried to like untie the key, but of course it doesn't actually work because then it just shoots the judge's face off.
It did work in essence though.
It did.
It didn't shoot Jeff.
That's true.
But the judge just happened to be there in close proximity and got blown off.
And got shot. Yeah.
Which honestly is probably karma. Because if anybody of all these people, the judge probably was a bad guy.
Yeah, probably.
Could have been a bad judge
who looked slimy.
If not just this occasion, but like a lot of other cases where he might have been like doing something shady.
Yeah, exactly. But this is where we get the famous like fucking shin bone splintering through that I've mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
It was in this film. I don't remember any other bit of this movie except for this part.
Yeah, because it's pretty like realistic, and then like it just pops right out.
And even his arm bones,
the way they look, how it's all twisted. Yeah, it's not cute. It's just really sad also too, because I guess Jeff in a way as well, he at this point is already like, you know what, like I'm trying to save you. Like he's trying to save him. He at this point has forgiven him, and he's like, damn, like seeing like this is really fucked up. Like nobody should be tortured like this.
Yeah.
And he's trying to save him, but he just literally can't.
He can't. Yeah. I couldn't tell if he couldn't get the key in or he couldn't find where the key went.
I think he couldn't find where the key went.
Or it was just already too late.
And then by that point, it was already like the dude's head was already like twisted.
Like halfway twisted, yeah. And it twists like almost a full 180.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just.
It was really bad. But yeah, his head is a little twisted and popped right off.
Yep.
And so then we do go back to John, and he's asking Lynn about her husband. And at this point, this is whenever they're talking about the whole, like, husbands that can't look at their wives and wives who cheat on their husbands. And she's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, oh, but I do know. I know everything.
Yeah.
And he asked
and she
her,
says right now she would give anything in the world to see her husband.
And I think at this point, too, this is where we get from him where he's like, I don't condone murder.
I despise murderers, he says.
Literally.
Yeah, that is exactly it.
And Amanda walks in, and I think she is trying.
This is where they're holding hands.
Yeah, that's right. And they're kind of having a moment, and Amanda walks in, and he's like, it's okay. We're fine, Amanda. We don't need you.
Yeah.
And Amanda does not like that one
Was
bit.
not a fan.
Oh, it broke her, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And because then this is where she was like, well, he made it through the last room. And then that's when John's like, okay, well, she's free to go, unlock her collar. And Amanda's like, I think not.
Yeah. I don't think we're done. He's not done yet.
Nope.
He hasn't made it all the way through.
Completely out. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yikes.
And so Amanda definitely has her own ideas.
Yes.
She ends up, I believe at this point, and at the same time, we saw John, as he was talking to Lynn, was pouring wax on something, a tape, I believe.
Yeah.
You saw that, right?
Yeah. But I didn't know what it was.
We don't get any payoff from that, but he's doing that. So I'm assuming that's going to come back later. And at this point, with Amanda freaking out, she has a fucking gun.
Yes.
And we see that she's unhinged at this point. He completed the third test and all that, and she was free to go. But Amanda's like, nah, you know what? We're not letting you go. And we're going to wait for what's-his-face to come here and walk up. And at this point, that's whenever I think John is then telling her, like, you're a murderer. I know what you've been doing. I tried to fix you, but I know that you've made tests that were unbeatable, and you did not give people a chance. You made them suffer.
Like Detective Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we flash back to
the beginning of the movie and her trapping him.
Yep.
But then him getting away, and then him like essentially beating her up a little bit.
Yeah.
Then having a whole altercation.
He bit her in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, he just bit her fucking leg.
The only parts of this that made me like really like were those 2 times that like when he was on his broken foot and then, like, and then like she kicked it the other time. Ugh.
Yep. And she was
So
like, it's right here.
Yeah.
Because, when the moment he said, you're not Jigsaw, I was like, Matthews,
dude, you're not
nailed.
Jigsaw, bitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he kept saying it. I was like, damn it, dude, you just killed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You just got yourself killed.
That broke her, honestly.
Yep.
But then she turned around, and then that's whenever we don't get anything from that, though. Because I don't think he is dead. Because then John was like, you left him for dead.
Yeah.
And he said, I had to clean up your mess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's dead.
Maybe he made it out.
I think he's somewhere.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. But we don't know that. But
That's
anyways, at this point, she's freaking out. She, I think at the same time, Jeff is finding a key, and he found a gun.
Yes.
Or he used the key that he already had, and he gets through this like gate, and then he finds a gun on the other side, and that's whenever he
also finds the picture,
the final piece,
but we don't see who it is.
But it's obviously his wife.
It's
right?
It's obviously his wife, who you can also at this point infer is Lynn.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I think so too. Yeah. Because it's all leading up to it, because we get the revelation from John as he's explaining to Amanda that this test was never really necessarily about Lynn or Jeff, but for Amanda herself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point too, the truth is kind of coming out of Amanda's mouth. She's like kind of cursing at at John and stuff as well. And it's like, you can really see her true feelings now. Mm-hmm. And then,
because she's calling him a murderer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She's like, what you do is no better than murder. Like, you fucking torture people and they make them kill themselves. Like, you're a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're right. This is where he starts explaining that the whole game was for Amanda, that this was her destiny.
Yeah.
Because she shoots
She
Lynn.
ends up shooting Lynn whenever Jeff is just coming out, and he's screaming out, Lynn, and she's like, Jeff, and then like the way that Amanda's just like sideways, just like
boom,
like it's so cold.
It was
like she's just like,
She just takes the gun.
Yeah.
Pah.
Bam. Pops her sideways. Lynn gets shot. And then immediately Jeff's like, fuck, and shoots Lynn in the neck.
Yep.
And Lynn's on the ground.
Shoots
Shoots Amanda, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's when Amanda goes on the ground. And you're right. That's when John's like, this is your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's fucking dying.
Your games were unwinnable.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, game over, as Amanda goes,
Yeah.
and dies.
And at this point, Lynn is on the floor now. Jeff's like, what the fuck? And so then John starts talking to Jeff. And essentially, this is whenever he starts talking to him and being like, now this is your test. Like, you can save your wife.
One final test, yeah.
You can leave her and save your wife, and like you can whatever. Or you can choose to get your revenge and like kill me and then kill yourself, I guess, essentially. I don't know.
Yeah. Basically.
That's basically it. Yeah.
Tells him that you want to forgive me, but doesn't tell him why.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course,
Jeff picks up that saw.
Yep. And he said, live or die, Jeff, make our choice, which I thought was, Jeff clearly didn't catch.
Yeah, what that, like
on
the
that,
hints and
that meant that, like, if he dies, his wife's going to die. But he says, I forgive you to John.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
But
and
then
picks up that saw,
which is pretty fitting.
Yep.
And cuts into
Roll
John
credits.
slashes John's neck.
Yep, slices it right open, and he's like kind of dying. He
presses play on another tape.
Yep.
Which
pulls it out. And
then,
was like, what?
then reveals that essentially
I was your final test.
Yeah, and Jeff didn't know that if John died, that Lynn died. So now we already know Lynn's fate is sealed at this point.
Yep.
So that's happening. But what Jeff didn't know is that John was the only person who knew his daughter's whereabouts.
Yep.
And she only had a limited amount of air, and she was going to die soon. And he basically just sealed her fate.
Yep.
She's dead, and now Lynn's dead because she just blew up behind him.
Her head just blew up, which it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it did. And then at the same time, the doors in that area basically becomes his tomb because everything shuts.
Because it was that 2-hour clock that we talked about.
And we get like a flash of all the things that have transpired throughout the movie, just like every Saw movie as well. Coming through, and then that's when it like lingers on her blown up head.
Yep.
And that's whenever on the tape, I think he's like, the only way for you to get out of this is like we're gonna have to play another game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it was over,
and that's it. And that is
Saw 3.
Saw 3, you guys. If we want to go straight into the ratings, honestly, this one I'll give it. If I gave Saw 2 a 3.9, right?
Yeah.
And I gave Saw 1 a 3.5.
I think so.
I would give this one a 2.5.
I think you gave it a 3, actually.
A 3. And then I give this one a 2.5.
Okay.
It just didn't hit for me. I didn't care for Lynn. I didn't care for Jeff.
Yeah.
I didn't care at all for John being on a bedside table the whole time and like us just kind of being at his bedside the entire time. The judge and then the girl, like, I didn't get anything from them. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know who the killer was. So I didn't feel anything when they were dying.
Yeah.
As it was different when it was the people in the house before, because like I actually was following them around the entire movie for the most part.
And you get their actual backstories
or just something like, I didn't care about these people. And essentially too, we knew like they did something wrong.
Yeah.
So like it was like, well, they deserve this.
Yeah.
Almost. And then if the story felt super limited for some reason and not that grand.
Maybe it needed to be more cop centered.
Maybe I'm finding that's what I like about the Saw series.
Was the cop
action
film aspect.
But yeah.
This one was definitely more gruesome.
This one was more gruesome and not necessarily even in a way that I liked.
Yeah.
So
too much.
Overall, I would give it a 2.5. It kind of gave me with wanting more than what it gave me and left me with some questions and left me with some unresolved closure that I haven't gotten from the first movie and then like the second movie with Derek. And so it's just, I don't know. A 2.5. It just wasn't my favorite. I honestly, I hate to sound harsh, but this one I was like just waiting for it to be over.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think I would give it solely for the fact that I did remember the leg twisty part. And that part like freaked me out. I think I'll give it a 2.75. Just because of that scene. I did like it. But overall, it did have me, again, like you said, asking questions, and it just didn't feel as well rounded and well thought out as many of the other films did.
And like how you said on the other ones, like everything drove the plot throughout the entire movie. Like this one, like I just kind of felt like we knew all this stuff.
There wasn't really a plot.
Nothing was new. Yeah.
It was just like bits and pieces of random things that all happened together and happened in
other movies.
Yeah, happened in other movies.
Yeah.
It felt like it was kind of just tying up loose ends, but then also still not answering and creating more loose ends.
Yeah. Maybe a bridge to what is supposed to come next.
Yeah.
Which is what they were doing, I guess.
They had to kill off Amanda and John, which also makes me be like, well, who the fuck is gonna be next?
Taking on next? It's true. Now that
because it would have been perfect to have Amanda being the one who
successor.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe John was so narcissistic that he was like, no one else could actually do my work, kind of thing as well.
It's Gordon.
Yeah, maybe
it's got to be Gordon. It's got to be. This is why he hasn't been brought him back,
because he's now the killer.
Maybe he's now a part of something.
It would be more understandable if his wife and child had died, but they escaped. Yeah,
that's true. I don't know. You're right. They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot all about that part of the story. But anyways, so a 2.5
and a 2.75. I will say the practical effects were out of this world.
Yeah.
In this one, they were really good, really good, and still held the test of time. I mean, 2006. It's been a long ass time now.
That whole skull stuff was pretty squeamish. It
almost 20 years, right?
Yeah.
3 years short.
Wow. Yeah. 3 years short.
Which is insane to think about, but the fact that it's held up that well over time is really impressive to me. So I do have to give it some props for that, but you're right. There was a lack of a plot, and it felt just not as engaging as the other two did. They were just more. It all went quickly because everything was driven towards the plot.
Yeah, no, and like I said, this one just didn't feel like there was like the stakes didn't feel as high. I guess the stakes never really felt like there was.
Yeah, because
anything to lose.
Jeff's life was never being tested.
No, right.
Like he just had to get out of a box, and then it was other people's lives on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she was just trying to keep him alive.
Or the other deaths were, you have a minute.
The thing around her neck, though, honestly, truly was terrifying.
Yeah, that did make me nervous for her the whole time. That did. Yeah. Also, our mics are pink and green like Cosmo and Wanda.
Oh, we've got some Fairly Odd Parents in the building. Shout out.
That they're in disguise right now. But anyways.
As always.
We're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
They always take good care of us.
That's right. And if you want to listen to us or any of the other amazing podcasts that are on this network, you can do so at
roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right. And if you'd like to listen to us on, or any of the other podcasts on the biggest two podcasting platforms, which are
Spotify
and Apple, you can do that. But don't forget to rate, review, like, and
subscribe.
That was your bit.
That's fine.
Sorry. Because that's the only way.
We get ahead in life.
That's right. Yeah.
And
you can reach out to us on our one social media platform if you want to let us know your thoughts on Saw 3 or the Saw franchise in general.
Yeah.
Give us a reason to watch Saws
4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9.
And God, there's so many.
You can do that at our one and only
Instagram, our only social media platform, which is Instagram.
At BooBaes Podcast, BOOBAES Podcast, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
I was like, I'm not going to steal a second one from you.
Bad. And I guess that's it, right?
That is, yeah.
Until next
happy
time.
Happy 100th episode.
Oh, yeah. Happy 100th, you guys.
Thanks for
Thank you.
sticking around for 100 episodes of us talking in your ears.
Our centennial episode.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called.
Tricentennial.
Try, buy,
No.
all the eyes.
I just wanted to bring back Final Destination 3.
It's true. Oh, that was a fun one. Yeah.
That was fun.
Until
What
next
do we want to do next?
I don't know.
We'll
But
figure it out.
We'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
And
It'd
until
be a
then,
surprise. Bye,
bye,
bays.
bays.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.